Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and game 3 in a best of, I believe a best of 5 series between Mouse Mana and Mouse Naama here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Mouse Mana spawning as the blue Protoss player on the north side of the map. Meanwhile, we have Naama spawning as the red Terran player on the south side of the map. So Terran versus Protoss here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. A really interesting matchup so far. If you guys have not seen the first couple of games so far, please watch them in order as I will be referring to them or mute me for the next 10 seconds. So Naama currently taking a 2-0 lead in this in what I believe to be a best of 3 matchup, or sorry, best of 5 matchup. So Naama, if he's able to win this game, will be able to sweep his opponent and his clanmate as well. Taking a look at the production tab, you can see both sides pretty much opening up with similar strategies, just getting that pylon, more standard play, no cheese play, no proxy, anything so far, as a barracks most likely will be built in just a moment. So a barracks perhaps here or even here as well. It looks like they'll, yeah, on patrol, just walking back and forth, wants to make sure that if there is a probe coming up that ramp, it does not take any serious damage. And then now there we go, getting that barracks there. So with a barracks here, he will be able to get a tech lab here and then finish off this wall in with an additional supply depot here if he chooses to do so. What that will help him with is by putting another supply depot here, it will reduce the amount of surface area that this one supply depot is currently being exposed. The barracks you're not too concerned about as it does have a larger amount of hit points. So you really want to be able to just simply repair these buildings on this side, the lower hit point supply depots, as now a probe makes its way up the ramp. Will it do any harassment onto the SCV? Yeah, now getting some damage onto the SCV. SCV now trying to come off that mineral line, will be able to join in on that fight. However, Naama may end up losing this one SCV. No, not losing that SCV, as the probe able to just pulling back at just the wrong moment. They're able to, no, not able to get any more damage onto that one SCV. So SCV continuing to wandering around over here, now trying to come back, able to start mining. However, I do not believe it's going to disrupt the mining all too much. And now going after some of those mineral patches. Will it try to get an assimilator? An assimilator would be kind of cute at this point, as it would be able to hide inside the assimilator for a second and then swap between here and here in order to just drop those minerals and then pick up additional Vespene gas. Back here, the Cybernetics core currently being warped in. We do see the second assimilator also being warped in as well. So with 2 assimilators online, it does look like Mana trying to go for more of a tech game so far. We now see one pylon being built down over here. Not quite sure if Naama sees it yet. No, he does not see that pylon. So he has to be curious as to where that second pylon is currently being placed. He may be forced to try to look for that proxy pylon since he was not able to scout out the inside of his own base in order to determine where that pylon is. And very early, you really want to be careful. You really ought to be careful about the Protoss player. If you can count the number of pylons and it seems a little bit low to you, it probably is, and you need to keep track of that additional pylon somehow, making sure that there is no additional proxy pylons there. One probe quickly taking down one SCV here, as a Marine activating the second Xel'Naga watchtower, and now out moves a Reaper. So Reaper now being built by Naama. So I'm not sure what exactly Naama's long-term goal with this Reaper is. I cannot imagine that he's trying to simply win the game with one Reaper, but perhaps just dealing enough harassment damage in order to push those units back. So we do see one sentry here, but that sentry is going to have a very bad day if it tries to go toe-to-toe with a Reaper. Sentry able to get some damage dealt onto that Reaper. The sentry does have more hit points. However, the Reaper does about 3 times the amount of damage. 9 times 2 is 18 compared to, yeah, 6, and about 3 times the amount of damage. However, the disruption beam does attack a little bit faster, as now we have a probe down here. So this probe may try to get a warp in a pylon and then would be able to warp in zealots along that ledge right there. Back here, we now see one Marine making sure that there is no expansion at the 12 o'clock location, and now one Marine trying to deal damage towards that probe. Probe getting stuck in between 2 Marines, and down it goes once again. Starport and Factory doing a little bit of a swap there, and now getting Banshees and perhaps even cloaking research as well. I do not see any supply depots. No, sorry, supply depot now being built down here in order to make sure that he's not supply locked for very long, in addition to another command center being built. One observer now making its way across the map. We see another observer being trained up at that robotics facility. So robotics facility just so far training observers and not any immortals. And Mouse Mana is pretty much staying very much behind right now and playing much more of a micro game, only using a 2-gate, and has a very small standing army. Taking a look at the army sizes, 675 versus 400. Naama also sitting on a very small army as well. As now one Banshee is going to join into that air fight here. So that Banshee is now in the air. Also a Raven being built. So it may be Raven Banshee. Raven Banshee particularly strong against Protoss, as those point defense drones are able to intercept the attacks of those Stalkers, and Banshees are just simply deal so much damage than those Stalkers. They attack faster than a Stalker, and they also deal more damage than a Stalker as well, both to light and non-light units, or armored and unarmored units. Back here, we now see one Banshee trying to make a move over here. We have, what, 4 Stalkers getting ready in position. And Mana, yes, he does see that Banshee there. And that Banshee now taking some points of damage. That Stalker, those Stalkers able to get a lot of damage dealt so far onto that that Banshee. Mana now moving out one Observer into that corner to make sure that there's only one Banshee and nothing else is being masked. Back over here, one Probe, making sure that there's nothing coming in through that back door, as an Observer still now getting shot out of the sky by Marines. Marines with the support of Ravens trying to get underneath there, and now dropping on Auto Turret getting one quick kill, and now it credits the kill to the Raven. So the Raven now having one kill for the taking down of one Probe. Back here, a couple of Stalkers now quickly walking into a Reaper. Reaper quickly getting taken down there, so that Reaper didn't even stand a chance against the particle disruptors of the Stalker. And now Mana transitioning into Colossi. I like this play by Mana. Mana transitioning into Colossi will be able to deal a lot of damage towards the infantry and the very tightly packed groups of Naama. Naama currently sitting on a fair amount of Marines, so those Marines are going to have their work cut out for them by staying in groups and being able to just fend off any additional attacks. Back over here, we now have one Observer in the center of the field, just gaining sight so far, making sure that nothing is happening at all on this map. Mana continuing to just wander around with this one Raven, trying to make sure that there are no Observers nearby. So that Raven, however, unable to detect any Observers, as none of them were within its sight range. Back here, we now see multiple pylons being warped in. So Mana will be able to warp in additional pylons relatively easily in this game so far, as those pylons are able to offer up that energy matrix. And now in comes this Banshee. Banshee still does not have any kills so far, and that Banshee may be able to get off a final shot. No final shot whatsoever. One Stalker here would be all it would take in order to take down that last Banshee in position, hiding in the top right of the base of Mana so far. Okay, taking a look, we do have the robotics facility currently researching the extended thermal lance range and also training a Colossus. 2 additional gateways currently being warped in as well. So 2 gateways being warped in will allow for a 4-gate with that robotics bay, and that robotics bay most likely training Colossi. So it's going to be a very strong army and unit combination coming in from Mana. Mana will be able to deal a lot of damage relatively quickly, as long as he's able to clean up the rest of those Marines and Marauders. If those Marines and Marauders are not dealt with, that's going to be a very tragic blow dealt to this fight, as we now have Vikings making their way across the map. So a Viking now making their way across the map in order to try to keep track of any additional Colossi. So one Viking and now one Raven quickly able to see that Observer. However, the Observer also able to see the Raven and the Viking of Naama. So Naama, I guess, deciding to retreat, does not want Mana to know exactly where he went, decided to pull back here, and now moving off to the north. We now see a mound of Stalkers activating this Xel'Naga Watchtower. That Xel'Naga Watchtower has been activated, and now scrolled over a little bit too far, as those Colossi with that extended thermal lance range able to simply slice through many of that attack there. Vikings, Marines, Marauders, Siege Tanks continuing to try to move out. Will these SCVs be able to deal any damage, or try to soak up any serious damage? Not quite sure yet, as what these medevacs are now trying to repair and heal up the rest of these units here. The Marauders dealing a lot of damage towards that pylon, and now those Vikings perhaps need to land into ground mode in order to get additional DPS. And now in comes some more units now warping as well. Vikings going after those Colossi. Colossi, however, a lot of them, and able to simply eat through much of that Protoss, oh sorry, that Terran army. Looking back at the Protoss, Protoss was able to save up some of his key buildings and tech, and presumably those Vikings and some siege tanks as well. So not too many siege tanks were taken down, just a lot of infantry. However, that's what Colossus is designed for, to counter infantry. Back here, we now see a couple Vikings in the air, just ready to wait, ready to move out and back. And now taking a look at production tab, we're also getting Zealot Charge. So with Zealot Charge, Naama will be able to simply charge around these siege tanks and push in and deal a lot of damage, getting within that zero damage radius. So Colossus now hanging out over here by the Nexus. Mao Sasu knows that he needs to hold on to this expansion in order to win, and now siege tanks trying to pull back. Another force field coming in online. Force field is being very careful to make sure that those stalkers are unable to get underneath it, staying over this chasm here, and now staying on top of this one bunker here. Back here, we now see a Twilight Council currently being researched. As soon as Twilight Council and Blink is being researched, those stalkers are going to be able to deal a lot of damage. And then in comes another fight. Colossi moving back and forth. And one Marauder getting a little gung-ho. No concussive shell as of yet. As of fourth Colossus will be joining in on this fight. 4 Colossi, all dealing a serious amount of damage. 15 damage times 2, so 30 damage very easily, with a significant amount of splash as well. So in come those Marines and those Marauders, but however those Stalkers and those Zealots able to move and deal a lot of damage, and now just simply wiping through the rest of this army here. So Stalkers doing a lot of damage, and now those wedding guests trying to shoot down the rest of those Vikings. However, the groom and the bride simply sneak out the back there, no real issue. SCVs continuing to repair this location, and at some point I would assume that Naama needs to take up a third base. His main base is nearly being mined out already down to 470 hit points. They are very low on minerals, and he will need to be able to compensate for that in just a moment. Bunker now getting quickly torn up by, once again, another Colossus. So this Colossus doing a good job trying to contain any of that serious harassment so far. We are now, I believe, 17 minutes into this game. More Marines and Marauders continuing to be trained. No siege tech, no siege tank. No siege tank weapon upgrades, no Marauder weapon upgrades, and no Viking upgrades. So Naama really neglecting his upgrades this particular game. Meanwhile, we can take a look back here. We can see that those Colossi here have no upgrades as well, either do the Stalkers. So no one's getting any upgrades so far. They're just trying to simply counter their opponents with the proper counter units, as we once again have more Marauders trying to push into the location. So those Marines and Marauders once again are going to try to push into this location, deal damage across this Nexus, and this Nexus is going to get taken down. That Nexus, not get taken down, as those Colossi now trying to move out once again. Marauders trying to get into that back, able to deal some damage towards those probes. Vikings coming back in order, trying to deal damage towards those Colossi. Those Colossi, however, are pretty strong against Vikings, and Vikings simply do not deal enough damage to light units. Does not do enough damage to light units in order. Wow, can't even think straight. Okay, anyways, Marines and Marauders continuing to fight back and forth. And Marines and Marauders trying to deal damage here. And now in comes a Psystorm for a very nice Psystorm being cast there. And if multiple Psystorms are used, that's going to be a very dangerous situation for him to be in. As Mana now trying to just counter this attack right now. And now in comes this group here. And in comes dealing a lot of damage across those units. And now feedbacking some of those Medevacs and Ravens. The Medevacs have taken a lot of damage, both sides. Now using also, I believe, the extended thermal lance range also being researched at just the right time. And there goes my timer. So stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between Naama and Mana here in the Xel'Naga Caverns.